Y el motivo por el que nos hemos reunido aquí.
The reason we've gathered here is precisely to hear the thoughts of many victims, mainly young people today, for whom it's almost impossible to live, to find housing. It's not just that, we're living the consequences of gentrification, which is the government directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power, often illegally displacing local population who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50, and we have documented cases of up to 60 years.
Hold on, let me get this straight. Isn't it the liberals and Democrats here in America and Mexicans in America and Mexico that say that we should have open borders, that no one is illegal? Yeah, right. Let's check all this out. Here we go. Hey there, Patriots. This is Short Low Patriot coming at you with another one. The video that I'm dropping tonight is something that's popping up, and the mainstream media definitely does not want to put it out. But what's funny is that this situation in Mexico is actually something that's been happening for a while, but nobody will cover it. And I know you must be asking what's going on by looking at my thumbnail and my title. And what it is that not only does America have people protesting in America, you know, liberals, Democrats, people in the Mexican community, Antifa, and, you know, the list goes on and on and on, in order to keep illegal migrants in America. There's actually a big movement in Mexico that nobody's really talking about, where Mexicans don't want Americans there. Okay, and I'm going to show you a few video clips from different news outlets, but they're not, you know, the mainstream media, and you would have to ask why. Why won't you show the hard facts that, you know what, that not everyone in every country wants just anybody to come in and basically overstay their visit? Okay, and I'm going to point out a few hypocrisies in this, because it's only right that people understand what's going on. Okay, and what's sad is that you have people on the left always talking about, and they're out there picketing and protesting with their signs, saying that no human is illegal. Okay, open borders for all. Okay, you know, stop the hate, stop the racism, stop the phobias, and all, you know, and all this BS. But yet it's quite all right for people in Mexico, who, by the way, kind of look like the twins of protesters here in America, you know, left-leaning with the different color hairs and Antifa and all that. And yet it's okay if they do it, but if we do it here in America, we're racist. And even to the point that you have tens of thousands of Mexicans in LA who are over here saying that, oh, you know, that that Mexicans have been here for, you know, for 40, 50 years, even though they're undocumented. How can you kick them out? Well, they're doing the same thing in Mexico. Okay, but there's a whole big difference in between both scenarios, like I said, which I'm going to point out. But without further ado, I just want to wish everyone a happy 4th of July, happy 4th of July weekend. Hope everybody's doing well. Okay, having a good time. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you're still out there barbecuing and partying, because it's kind of early, pass the video around to your family members and friends that you think might be interested. Help this channel grow. Okay, also, I should be dropping another video later on tonight, in case you guys get home at a certain time. If not tonight, tomorrow, of something that I think everyone should know, because it looks like someone from Biden's administration might be, how can I say, it might be open season, where they can pretty much have the Department of Justice knocking on their door and hopefully be held accountable and go to prison. But that's another video, another story. We'll get to it. But right now, let's get to a couple of video clips here so you guys can see what's going on. Here we go.
Pues el día de hoy estamos luchando contra la gentrificación. La gentrificación es este proceso por el cual las personas originarias de los barrios se ven desplazadas por gente con mayor poder adquisitivo. Es decir, gente que viene de otros países, en su mayoría extranjeros, a querer imponer su cultura, sus precios y desplazar a los mexicanos, a los nativos de estas tierras.
Okay, I'm not over with this. I'm just going to stop it because just these first 37 seconds explains so much. So let's just go back a little bit. Okay, we're going to start again. Like I said, I have a couple of quick video clips. But you see these people out here en masse, dressed in black, just like Antifa or whatever have you, okay, in America, just, you know, destroying businesses. We're going to play it. We're going to go along. I'll lower the volume. Okay, I'll mute the volume. This is in Mexico City. Right here, this sign on this window, they're busting up a business. It says, afuera de Mexico. That means leave Mexico. Get out of Mexico, okay? And as it goes on, I mean, look at all these, you know, look like Antifa to me. You know, everybody protesting, all the anarchists and stuff like that. And if you look at it over here, let me just go back just one little second right here, where a lot of people didn't catch this, and they probably won't catch it, because I know that this story is going to hit the mainstream soon. Okay, does anybody see this symbol right here on this guy's jacket? Does anybody see this here? That is a swastika with Doc Marten boots. Okay, this is in Mexico. Okay, for all intents and purposes, this is probably a Mexican native with a symbol of hate. And yet, in America, you have Americans saying, not saying that they don't want anybody coming into America. They say that they don't want people coming in illegally. But by saying that, everyone is a Nazi and a racist. This to me, unless I'm wrong, people, this to me down here where my green pointer is, that is a Nazi symbol. But it's okay if somebody else from another country does it, okay, going against Americans, okay? Let's keep going. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Here it says, today we are fighting against gentrification. Wow, really? You don't say. And it says, gentrification is the process by which the original residents, pay attention people, of the neighborhoods are displaced, let me go back, of the neighborhoods that are displaced by people with greater purchasing power. That is, people coming from other countries. And then right here, the guy says, he spray paints, kill a gringo. Gringos. Los gringos son whatever. In other words, they're saying white people. Okay? White people. Whereas in America, people are protesting saying we don't want illegal immigrants. They're not pinpointing. I'm not saying that some people aren't, but they're not pinpointing just one group. They're saying they don't want illegal immigration. Okay? It's the leftists over here saying that people, black and brown and indigenous, that anybody that doesn't like them, they're just white, toxic, racist. And yet in Mexico, they're literally putting down kill a gringo, which means kill a white person. Okay? Let's keep going. I mean, this is insane. Okay? And this guy's over here, you hear what he says, but it says mostly foreigners who want to impose their culture. Okay? And this dude, his name is Balam Larios. He's a psychology student. You know, you can't make this up, people. You literally cannot make this up, how this is going on right now. And the thing about it is, these protests went on supposedly on July 4th, 2 days ago. Okay? But let's continue. Let me raise up this volume.
Cultura, sus precios, y...
And then it says, prices and displaced Mexicans, the native people of these lands. Wow. The irony and hypocrisy. I mean, you can cut it with a freaking chainsaw. It's so damn thick. Let's continue.
Desplazar a los mexicanos, a los nativos de estas tierras.
Vengo porque la gentrificación solo es un paso más a la colonización, a los despojos.
I mean, I have to keep cutting it. I got a few more, but I got to keep cutting it. This girl's saying, it's and here we go with the. I mean, it's like it's just reminiscent of the people on the left, all the liberals in America, okay, protesting their own kind to let in these people, and yet in Mexico, these people are fighting to kick out probably some of the same people who are in America fighting for them to stay in America. Think about that, okay? She says right here, I'm here because gentrification is just one more step, okay, towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation. Let me continue. Let me go back a little bit. Bear with me, people. I mean, this has got me like super heated, but.
Colonización, a los despojos, y
and it says, gringo, go to your pinche país. That means, in other words, Americans, white people, go back to your country. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? I mean, you know what? I don't want to hear a damn thing from anybody on the left about keeping illegal migrants in America and ICE doing their job and talking about where's the humanity. Okay, let's continue.
I'll
go back just a little bit and read it again. Okay, towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation of our resources. Wow. And yet it's okay for all these people to let millions of their own and others from South America come into America, use up our resources, okay, especially social resources. I wonder if they're going to protest that to keep them in Mexico and say, no, don't do that. Don't do that to Americans. Oh, no, they can't do that. They just can't do that. They're upset because there are Americans overstaying their visas in Mexico who are working in Mexico because it's cheaper to work there on their laptops, even though they're most likely spending money. But one of their main arguments is that there's about 1 million Americans in Mexico right now that are doing this because it's cheaper for them to work there and just work online. And it's taking up resources like housing, and it's making it harder for people in Mexico to find housing. You don't say. You really don't say. Now the shoe's on the other foot, and it's been on the other foot for a very long time, but this is something that nobody will talk about. Nobody. Okay? And the way I came across all this information was because the video that I really wanted to put out, which I'm going to put out, I wanted to do some research to find out exactly how the people in Mexico feel about open borders, and all these people coming through their country, and I just happened to come across all this that actually is a day old. And the AP's putting it out, Al Jazeera's putting it out, a couple of, the outside news outlets, but Fox News is not putting it out. CNN, MSNBC, no one's putting that out. Nobody's putting this out. How ironic. But let's continue. It says, but she says, but it won't be long before they run out of oil, water, or lithium in other countries and come and take them from us. Wow. So you're trying to kick out the gringos, okay, like you say, the Americans, and yet you're worried about that we're going to use up your resources like water, oil, whatever the hell the case is, but yet Donald Trump, President Trump, is trying to open up the oil fields, and even people here on the left are against that. It's mind-boggling. Let's continue.
The government is directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power, often illegally displacing local populations who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50, and we have even documented cases of up to 60 years. In 5 years, rents have increased by 47%. This is violent for the local population. We are debating whether to pay for electricity, water, or food. Of course, we choose to eat.
Por supuesto que preferimos comer.
Some activists blame Mexico's government for encouraging them. However, there's no simple fix. Imposing tougher visa restrictions on Americans could worsen relations with the U.S. Mexican citizens in the U.S. also send billions of dollars in remittances back to their families in Mexico. In a world where travel and communication are faster and easier than ever, these two nations are finding it harder to have neighborly relations. Wilson Dysart, Al Jazeera.
Well, I tell you what, it's funny that that man that was talking is talking about the rent going up by so much. And that's only with supposedly a million Americans in Mexico. How does it feel? How does it feel? You only got 1 million who are out there spending money. Meanwhile, we've got 10, maybe 20 million taking resources and taking money, not to mention jobs, number one. Let's get to that point real quick, jobs, okay, before I get to the next video clip and we end this video. You have Americans going into Mexico, working there off their laptops, okay, because it's cheaper to do that. In other words, whatever you call it, work from home or whatever. And they're spending money there, but they're also making money for the companies in America. Not really taking jobs per se, okay? But yet you have between 10 and 20 million people coming from South America through Mexico, a lot from Mexico into America, taking housing and jobs, okay? Mainly jobs, which is putting a big strain on people in America, on the economy, not to mention welfare, food stamps, all kinds of public assistance, okay, being put first before Americans, okay, and you're complaining? I mean, the way I see it, why don't you stop your people from coming into Mexico so they can fill up all these jobs and all these apartments, so like that it makes it harder for Americans to go in there? Oh, I'll tell you why. Because you're all a bunch of damn freaking hypocrites. That's why. That's why. You talk about people wanting to implement colonization, and yet you people have us 10, 20-fold over in America. Who is trying to colonize who? Who is taking more resources from who? Whose government is not doing their job? And yet you're mad at the American government for kicking your people out to send them back into Mexico, since you're so proud to be Mexican, right? It says it on the protest signs on some of them. Mexico is for Mexicans. Well, how about America is for Americans? Okay? And when we mean Americans, we mean anybody that considers themselves to be an American, that is American born, that goes through the right process of becoming an American, that gives their allegiance to America. Not people like you who say that Mexico is only for Mexicans. Okay? While you people run around like, I mean, I'm not going to say you people as a whole, but while many of your people are running rampant through the streets of America, okay, taking jobs, taking housing, committing crimes, using resources, saying that you belong here, you can't kick us out because it's unconstitutional, you have due process rights, and yada 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 yada. So it's okay for Mexico to implement their laws. It's okay for you people in Mexico to protest, to kick Americans out, but we can't do that in our country? Yeah, go kick rocks. Let's get to the next video clip. Here we go. Yeah, it says locals fight back against gentrification. And look at the sign. They have of Donald Trump with X's on his eyes, and up here it says Cállate Blanco. It means shut up, whitey. Who's acting like racist now? I've seen so many different protests. Do I think that everybody on the right is racist? Not by far. Do I believe that there are some people in those crowds that are racist? Yes, I'm not going to be naive about it. But has anybody on the right seen any signs, okay, that are racially motivated? Like, get out brown people, get out Mexicans, get out Haitians, or whatever the case is. It's so ironic, man, that this is going on. And it's like the double standard is so thick. One would think, okay, with so many tourists, not only from America, but from around the world, that visit Mexico. They go to Cancun, whatever the case is. They take cruises or just vacation. They contribute. They drop money Okay? Can we truly say that about Mexicans in America? How many Mexicans are coming on vacation and dropping billions of dollars every year on tourism? They're not. That's just the bottom line. They're not. Okay? Never mind this whole thing that you feel that there's gentrification going on. Okay? Never mind that. Just the tourist aspect alone contributes more to Mexico than Mexico can ever contribute to America. And then you have people on the left getting upset because President Trump wanted to change the name from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, which I am 100% for, because like I said before, and I'll say it again, America contributes to Mexico and to other countries around the world more than other countries and Mexico contribute to America. And if you think that people coming here illegally contributes to America, you are dead wrong. Okay? American taxpayers and America is wiping everybody else's ass around the country, around the world, for that matter. Here we go. It says pay taxes, speak Spanish, use pesos, or get out of here. Imagine if people out here in America with signs that said, pay your taxes and speak English or leave. Oh my God, the left will have a conniption. Because that's racist to tell somebody to speak English. That's insulting. But yeah, you got all these people, look at them people, reminiscent of the protesters in America. Dressed in black, colorful hair, young people. I mean, the only difference is they're all Mexican. Okay, they're all Mexican. I wonder if all you white liberals, Antifa, and the rest of you, if you're allowed to go into Mexico, and just open up shop, if these people will accept you. The answer to that would be no. Plain and simple, it would be no, because by their standards, you're taking up their resources because you got to find a place to live. You got to find work. Oh, the irony, people. The irony. Let's watch the rest of this video so we can wrap it up. It says protest emphasized the hardships locals face due to soaring rents and rapid neighborhood changes. Wow. Rapid neighborhood changes. I think it was in Ohio when the Biden regime dumped off, 40,000 Haitians? And the people were complaining, the locals, about their neighborhoods changing. And everyone on the left said that it was racist to think like that. But yet, again, crickets here in America of these people speaking like this in Mexico. With only, supposedly, so far the news, whatever news is coming out, that it's only about 1 million Americans. But meanwhile, okay, we've got between 10 and 20 million illegal migrants in America from all over the world, mostly South America, and we can't talk like this. We can't talk about the jobs being lost. We can't talk about the neighborhoods that are being turned on its ear, like in Colorado, with all the Venezuelan gang members. We can't talk about that because it's all racist. It's all fake news. Insane, people. Let's continue. Here we go. I'll have to lower the music because I don't know if it's going to be copyrighted, but I'll talk through it. It's so insane how these people are acting. What's it say? No mas, basically in English says Mexican survival, or no more Mexican survival, no more Mexican services, or something like that. In other words, I don't know if they're saying they're not getting it or they're not willing to give up those services. Well, how do you think we feel in America? What about the American taxpayer that is sick and tired of paying for illegal migrants having Medicaid and food stamps and housing and cars and just medical attention, just all these things, and most importantly, jobs? And you people think that everything is everything. Let's continue. It says Colonia, Condesa, and similar districts have seen a rise in U.S. migrants, intensifying gentrification. Unbelievable. Unreal. I got to keep pausing the music, people, because I don't know if it's going to be copyrighted and they'll make me cut it, which I'd rather not have that happen. What to say here? Gentrification, no, is not progressive, and I don't know what the bottom here says. It says demonstrators called for legal migration. Well, would you look at that? They're calling for legal migration, where in America, it's racist to say that. Because supposedly, as soon as you step foot on American soil, you should be considered American. And if we want to kick you out, we have to put you through due process. But it says demonstrators called for legal migration and economic contributions from foreign residents. Wow. I'm telling you, this is what you people in the science field, I think you can say, this is like a parallel universe going on. Instead of it happening in America, it's happening in Mexico. Check that out. It says Mexico no es cheap. Yeah, neither is America. It says affluent Americans are increasingly working remotely from Mexico City due to its lower cost of living. Well, here's the difference, people. Okay? They're mad because affluent Americans, in other words, rich, upper middle class Americans, are working in Mexico remotely. Okay? At Mexico City, due because of its lower cost of living. Okay? So now they feel the crunch. Because now it's harder to find apartments and, supply and demand. So if you don't have the apartments and when they pop open, they're going to charge more because more people need it. Whereas here in America, illegal migrants are coming in. They're being given housing. Okay? Military vets are being kicked out of housing. Elderly people are being kicked out of housing. Americans are being kicked out of housing because the government, especially under Biden's regime, was paying those rent fees, doubling, tripling, quadrupling the rent prices, making it harder for Americans to afford it. And all that was done for free. Okay? And yet people are saying all Mexicans are paying taxes. They're doing this. No, they weren't. It was the Mexican flipping the bill. By using taxpayer money, American taxpayer money. Whereas these so-called affluent Americans are going into Mexico and paying, and that's not good enough. And you know what? You're probably right, because I understand the whole thing when it comes to supply and demand. But once again, how does it feel? Whereas people from other countries come through Mexico or come from Mexico into America and use our taxpayer money and resources, okay? So you're taking from that, you're taking the jobs, you're collecting more money, sending it home to Mexico, whereas Americans are going there with their own money and paying into Mexico, and that one little thing, you feel the crunch. And I believe that you do. But how does it feel? So basically, Americans going to Mexico to work remotely because, it's cheaper for them to do that. They're actually adding to your economy, and you're unhappy about it, where Mexicans here and people from all over the world are coming here and taking, not contributing, taking. Okay? Because in a lot of the neighborhoods where these people are coming from all over the world taking over, they're not treating the neighborhoods good. Believe me, I know people that talk to me all the time, even family and friends, that they watch these neighborhoods turn from really good neighborhoods to like looking like that it's back in the like these third world countries. Because they're not, why add to a neighborhood if you don't feel like you're part of the country? You're just there to make money. You're not here to live the American dream. You're here to live the Haitian dream, the Mexican dream, the Islamist dream, wherever you're coming from around the world, you're looking to better back home where you're from, not America. And again, I won't say it's all of them. I'll just say it like this. Maybe about between 5 and 10% are willing to do that for America. The other 90%, they don't give a flying rat's ass about America. They just don't. Let's continue. Mexico is for Mexicans. How do you like that? What to say? Gentrification equals this is all in Spanish, so I'm going to try to translate it. It says gentrification equals neocolonization. Okay. Desplazamiento. Gentrification equals neocolonization, which equals public displacement, if I read that correctly. Yeah, so it makes sense. Gentrification equals neocolonization, which equals public displacement. No kidding. So then you have to think the same goes for Americans, what they're protesting against. Okay? That the gentrification of other people coming into our country equals colonization, which equals public displacement from the regular public. I'm telling you, this is... if this isn't calling the pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is. I just don't know what is. Again, I gotta leave the music off. I'll play what this guy has to say here. We'll go back.
Y el motivo por el que nos hemos reunido aquí es justamente para escucharlos y pensar.
Okay, I'm just going to read it. So I'll read it real quick. I know everybody can read, but I'm just going to read it. It says, the reason we've gathered here is precisely to hear the thoughts of many victims, mainly young people today for whom it's almost impossible to live. Sounds like America. To find housing. Sounds like America. It's not just that we're living the consequences of gentrification, which is the government directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power. Sounds like America, but instead of to higher purchasing power is basically to change the demographics. Okay, so just take out the purchasing power is to change the demographics. Okay, often illegally displacing local populations. Wow, I like how he says often illegally displacing. Yeah, that's how we feel here in America. Who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50, and we have documented cases of up to 60 years. Really? Wow, unbelievable.
De muchas víctimas que hoy, principalmente juventudes, para nosotros es casi imposible conseguir una vivienda. Y no solamente eso, estamos viviendo las consecuencias de la gentrificación, que es que el gobierno orienta sus políticas públicas a personas de mayor nivel adquisitivo, provocando el despojo, muchas veces ilegal, de población local que ya tiene 40, 50 y tenemos documentado hasta 60 años viviendo en estos barrios.
Wow, that's crazy. It says many Americans stay for up to 180 days without a visa, often leaving only when required. How does it feel? The difference is that there's people in America fighting to keep your asses in America, okay, where you people are protesting to kick out Americans because they're overstaying their visas. So when people in America who have overstayed their visa by, I don't know, 20, 30 years that are now being picked up and kicked out, there's people in our country who are fighting to keep them here. But yet, our constitutional laws, our laws in America are racist, but it's okay to implement and stand by the laws in Mexico because, like the sign said of one of the protesters, Mexico is for Mexicans. Now I see why so many people were coming from so many different countries through South America, and Mexico and the Biden regime just kept the doors open because they could have easily stayed in Mexico, but no, Mexico is only for Mexicans. Just let everybody else through from every other country, and also Mexicans through the southern border, let them take up residence in America, because once they put their foot on American soil, they have the right to stay. Well, guess what? There's a new sheriff in town. Again, I gotta kill it. It says, Gringo, go home. Yeah. There is public backlash against this trend, as it is believed to strain local housing markets. Same thing we're going through here in America. Just 10, 20 times more. Okay? And nobody wants to understand that. It says government policies are viewed as favoring wealthier foreigners, according to Eduardo Alanis. Really? How does it feel? Under the Biden regime, they were favoring illegal migrants over Americans. As a matter of fact, we're still feeling it now because all these people on the left, okay, who are being bought and paid for to protest, we're talking judges, lawyers, political officials, you name it, they're fighting to keep all these illegal migrants from all over the world in America. And you people are worried about 1 million Americans going to work remotely in Mexico, okay, which in all honesty I think is a total crock of shit, because you talk so much about being capitalist and making money. Why don't you just stay in America and spend that money in America? No, you can't do that. So I will agree with them that these people are using up going there because it's a cheaper cost of living. But wait a minute, at the same time, I got to be against it. Because there's always people from outside of America and the liberals inside of America that say no one's illegal. People have the right to go wherever they want on the planet, to have better lives, live a better life, make money. But when it comes to Mexico, you can't do it. And if they were doing so great, then why are so many of you coming to America? Yeah, okay. Again, I got to leave the music off to this. And we see, it's probably going to keep, hold on. It says, long-term residents are being displaced due to rising property values and rents. Yeah, no kidding. How does that feel? Where Americans got to go and leave their apartments, and now they got to start cramming themselves, 3 or 4 or 5 different people, maybe 2 families together, just to keep up with the rent, to keep up with the Joneses, like we say here in America. Okay? Where the Biden regime was giving rent vouchers, and in California, what was it? They were giving up to $100,000 for illegal migrants, so they can put towards, or was it $40,000 or whatever it was, towards a house? Not to Americans, to illegal immigrants. And you people are going to come out here and say long-time residents are being displaced due to rising property values and rents? How does it feel? Let's continue so we can finish this off. It says rents have increased by 47% over 5 years, intensifying affordability concerns. 47% over 5 years, intensifying affordability concerns. Let's just do a quick search so we can end this video, okay? Let's see. How much, just going to punch it in real time, how much did rent increase under the Biden admin? Let's see what it says. Under President Biden plan, corporate landlords can only take, yeah, it says they can only take, average, wait, sorry, let me read this. Under President Biden's plan, corporate land, no, this is not about corporate. No, we're not doing this. Not corporate. Let's do it this way. How much did rents increase in the U.S. in the last, let's say, 5 years? Okay. It says the U.S. rents have been rising faster than incomes over the past 2 decades. Okay. It says in 2022 the rent growth was only 1%, right? But the median U.S. rent rose to $1,987 in March of 2022. Okay. It says the income necessary to afford rent has also increased, which is bullshit because these numbers are wrong, but I'll just read it anyway for sake of argument. It says reaching $78,304 in January. How many people can honestly say that their salaries increased to $78,000? Okay, where the average rent here right here says the median U.S. rent rose to $1,987. I wonder, okay, we'll go back to this. I wonder if that's how much the average person in Mexico is paying. even with the 47% increase. I highly doubt it. I really, really do. Okay? But leave it up to the leftist political officials, the residents of Mexico to call all the shots, because they wanted to leave their border wide open so everybody else and their mother can just go straight to Mexico or South America, work their way up, get through Mexico, get through the southern border, flood our country, okay, with tens of millions of people from around the world who have come into this country illegally, and they're upset over 1 million people in Mexico that are supposedly using their resources. And let's just say, for instance, that the rent only rose 1%, again, which is bullshit, because I've spoken to many people, family and friends alike, who their rents have gone up an extra $200, $300, $400, $500 extra, okay, where they couldn't afford it. They were like, wait a minute, that's not even 1%. We're talking 10, 20, 30, 40%, where they had to basically try to look for a smaller place. How does it feel? Now, maybe instead of you people fighting against us, or you people in Mexico who have loved ones here in America that are fighting against us, maybe you can talk some sense into them and tell them, listen, we understand the crunch that's going on in America. Why don't you come back home? Just asking. Not that you're going to do it, because you're all a bunch of hypocrites, okay? Because in your eyes, what's good for the goose is not always good for the gander. Yeah, I understand that. But how does it feel? How does it feel, people? Let's finish this off. What to say here? Yeah, rents have increased, whatever, 47% in 5 years, intensifying affordability concerns. Primarily, if they're going to come to live in a country, they have to contribute to that country. Yeah, no shit. The first and simplest issue is legal migration. Wow, look at that, legal migration. They come here with visas or no visas, and still the change and purchasing power generates these problems of gentrification and displacement. Yeah, now you understand how we feel here in America, okay? But leave it up to them to make it seem like, oh, we're the victims again. So you come into our country illegally, you claim victimhood, you claim asylum, it's all wrong. The crime comes in, the jobs are being taken, the housing is being all used up, you're using up taxpayer money, medical resources and all that, okay? And you don't have a problem with that. You won't call your people back home, and at the same time, the people that are supposedly claiming asylum from around the world, which asylum is only supposed to be from one border to the next. Obviously, Mexico doesn't want them. But you think you have the right to just let them waltz on through Mexico right to the Mexican southern border here in America, or the American southern border, you know what I'm saying, and you're okay with that. But a measly 1 million supposed affluent Americans want to go there to work, bringing their own jobs, mind you, not taking your jobs, working remotely, bringing their own damn jobs, and that's a problem. Where all you people come to America and take our jobs, our resources, commit crimes, and you won't even stand together against that because you're afraid to protest all the criminals, because then you know you're going to get picked up and kicked back out. So you'll live with the problem that you people are causing here in America, and if we speak out against it, it's racist. But yet you people are carrying signs saying kill gringos, no gringos, no nothing. So imagine if people in America were writing that on the walls: kill Mexicans, kill Haitians, kill this, kill that, which is totally wrong by any stretch of the mind. But these are things that you won't talk about. CNN won't put this up. MSNBC won't put this up. And like I said, Fox News hasn't even put this out. Okay? But it's okay from people from other countries to say kill Americans. But yet here in America, we got to eat crow. We got to eat this. We got to eat it. We got to eat whatever it is that you want to dish out. Right. You know what I say? Listen, I believe that people all around the world, I think human life is precious. Okay, I've said it before, I'll keep saying it. I don't have any racism in me. Okay, I could be prejudiced about a lot of things. It doesn't make me a racist. Okay? But when it comes to America, I've always said it and I'll always say it. This is not me jumping on the bandwagon. I was raised the right way to love my country. I have nowhere else to go to love. I can fall in love with a country. It doesn't mean it's my country. Okay? But the way I see it, okay, regardless of what's going on around the world, because in every country something is going on, everybody has their own problems. How about we just all close the borders, go back to what works, which is if you want to go visit or live in a country, do it through the chain of command. Do it the right way. And then we'll see how all these countries supposedly thrive. I guarantee you, you won't. You won't thrive like you thrive in America. You know why? Because if that was the case, you would not, all of you would not be trying to fight to come to America to have a better life. And instead of respecting that, no, you want to piss all over it and abuse it, while at the same time calling us Americans, us patriotic Americans, racist, xenophobe, homophobe, whatever phobia you want to label on us, that's what you want to do. But yet you don't even have the balls in Mexico to have protests like this against, I don't know, your government, certain groups that are implementing crime and chaos in your country. You won't do that. No, you'll come to America and protest against the natives of America, the American patriotic populace. You'll come here and complain and try to make us feel guilty and try to force it down our throats. Well, this is what I say. President Trump, keep doing what you're doing. ICE, keep doing what you're doing. People in America, patriots, stay vigilant, stand strong. And this also goes for the people in the UK, Ireland, wherever you have it, where they're having all this chaos forced down their throats. Stay vigilant. Stand your ground for your country. Plain and simple. Because if the people in other countries can want to stand the ground in their countries, while also trying to, and I'm going to use this word very loosely, while they also try to go to other countries and colonize it, the answer has to be no. It has to be no. In all honesty, I wish America would take every military base away from every country on the planet, focus it on America, shut the borders, do it the right way by letting people in, vet them the right way, and we just worry about ourselves. Let everybody else deal with themselves. That's the way I see it. And then we'll see who really needs who really wants to be somewhere, who is going to respect who is going to be grateful and stop biting the hand that feeds them. Okay? But that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Pray for this country. Pray for your enemies. Pray for President Trump. And don't forget to pray for all the missing children that they brought across the border. And one more thing, people. I know that we're all celebrating the 4th of July. We're having good times, even though there's a lot of protests and stuff going on. In case nobody's been paying attention, that a major flood in Texas has taken the lives of up to, I think right now as of today, 60 some odd people. Most of them children from a campsite. Okay, mostly little girls, I believe. That it was a campsite for young girls, and it just breaks my heart that there are people that right now that are mourning, severely mourning, parents, family members, you name it, even just neighbors and total strangers. So keep them all in your prayers, and if there's any way you can find a way to help them, I'm sure there's going to be organizations collecting money for them. Do it the right way, something reputable. Help them as best you can, okay? And definitely keep them in your prayers, and pray for all those people, especially the children, all those young angels, okay? Just keep that in mind. Peace.